Malacca-born K. Raman Nair is Microsoft Malaysia MD. He is testimony to the fact that you don't need a fancy overseas degree to lead a large global multinational. Of mixed Chinese-Indian parentage, yet with a Malay-sounding name, Raman is your true Muhibbah kid. Gain insights into his personality traits and his journey in life, finding purpose in all that he does. K. Raman, what's your why? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good day, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Cuba Cerita. We really are enjoying ourselves in our second season of Cuba Cerita, where we've themed it, What's Your Why? What is it that you find purpose, or how do you go about finding purpose in your life? And we've gone through the same routine of inviting special guests each time to share their life experiences, as well as, for us to learn a bit about how do they find their own purpose in their own careers and their lives. So today, I always say we have a special guest, but yes, we do have a special guest. And he's a very high-level corporate figure. It was really hard getting him, but we are proud to introduce to you today the Managing Director of Microsoft Malaysia, Mr. K. Raman. Raman, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Azman, and very good morning. Pleasure to be here. I've been following your Cuba Cerita. I find it very interesting that you've got very diverse group of people. So I'm privileged, really I'm privileged to have the opportunity to
Thank you.
Cuba Cerita with you this morning.
Yeah, terima kasih. And this is the beauty of it, Raman. We really just enjoy the conversations, And as I told you, before today, let's just be casual, and I hope you don't mind. In the tune that we always go, I always explore about the person, sometimes more personally. But again, as the audience knows, there's no script. We just take it as we flow along.
Sure.
So I'm going to explore you in a bit more, and I understand you are a Malacca boy.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit, what was it like in the days when you were growing up, and about family and, your formative years in Malacca?
Yep, sure. So, a lot of people confused, right? Azman, you called me a Raman. I'm sure the audience may not know. This guy doesn't look Malaysian. He's in Malaysia. And I keep telling people I'm 100% anak Malaysia, right? 100% Malaysian.
Yes.
I mixed parentage. I'm actually now what people call Chindian, right? So my father is Indian, my mom is Chinese, but some people say that it should be Inchi and not Chindian, Indian Chinese, right? But when we were growing up, there were no Chindian at that time, right? So it's like kopi susu or celup or whatever you get themed, right?
Wow.
But so my dad is Indian, my mom is Chinese,
Okay.
and we grew up in Malacca. So born, bred, studied everything through my whole education system, right? From standard 1 until upper 6, right? And I'm 1 year your senior, so as you know, we've gone to University Malaya together.
Yeah.
But I'm the first batch that everything is in Bahasa Malaysia. So the first year, because we were born in 1963, formation of Malaysia.
Yes.
And then when we started standard 1, everything took off from English to Bahasa. And then it was the reverse, because the teachers were all so conversant in English. And I had siblings, right? I have 2 elder brother, 1 sister, and a younger brother. But my my elders all semua
English
teach
English medium.
English. So the hand-me-down buku tak boleh because everything tukar, right? So that was my formative years from a mixed parentage. So it was interesting growing up in Malacca.
And was it common for there to be, out of interest, mixed marriages in those days?
If you think about it, no, right? It's actually very uncommon. In fact, I probably think if I look back, I'm probably in my class or in my form, I'm probably the only mix or Chindian, right? At that time.
Yeah.
If you think about it, my parents got married back in 1958.
Wow.
And what's also unique is also my dad is Indian but Malayali. So if you think about it, the Malayalis are a very close community. Even within the Indians, they marry within their clan.
The Malayali,
right? The Malayalis, right? So for my dad to marry my mom is very unique, very different, right, at that time. But I think that's where we learn a lot about culture and diversity. And in fact, at that time, tak adalah culture and diversity, right? But everyone that comes to my house, so my house is a very open house, right?
Okay.
People will come in, classmates will come in, neighbors will come in, but they get very confused because if they come in, they will see there's an altar that we pray the Indian God, and then there'll be on my mom's side the Chinese altar, right? Because my dad believes in giving my mom the choice of what she wants to do, didn't impose on her, so that we grew up embracing different culture. Right, so we celebrate Deepawali. At the same time, we celebrate Chinese New Year. So until today, family reunion on the eve is very much a family get together.
Yeah.
And then we celebrate Chinese New Year today.
Wow.
And because of the mixed marriage today, if you look at my entire family, my siblings, we all memang satu Malaysia. I've got two brothers. I've got my eldest brother who married Indian and married into the Malayali family.
Okay.
My sister married Indian but Tamil. My late second brother married a Pakistani Muslim. So he converted. And then I married Chinese. So kena ikut bapa. One has to follow the father. Right?
Yes.
And then my younger brother married a Malaysian Malay. So our house is really a melting pot of different religion, different races.
Really
but we all come
Muhibbah lah.
together. Yeah. And we celebrate Raya with my two
bestnya.
siblings. We celebrate Chinese New Year. We celebrate Deepawali. And on my wife's side, the sister married a Christian. So they celebrate Christmas, right?
Wow,
so
you're so
memang,
lucky lah.
memang a whole appreciation of different culture. I think that's what makes Malaysia unique, and I think makes
your
the family
family unique. You yourself unique, and then we're talking about the next generation, your children
That's
and
good.
their cousins, and
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
so
and just
nice.
recently, my nephew just over the weekend got married and married a Chinese too. So, so the tradition continues.
Actually,
But, yeah.
it gives also the comfort that they are free to express themselves also, right? I mean, you know how it is sometimes, the stigma of having to marry your own kind sort of thing. But wow, that's so nice. May I ask, I'm sorry, your parents are still alive today?
No, unfortunately, no. I've lost both my parents when they are fairly young. I lost my mom when she's 52. I lost my dad when he's 53, and they're all the same age, right? So
I
we've lost them
see.
within a year.
Oh, the same.
All through, unfortunately, a health reason heart attack. So both had a sudden heart attack. We didn't anticipate that, but they're gone. But their memories continues.
And the family home is still there in Malacca?
My family home is still in Malacca, right? It's still in Malacca, but all my siblings are
here
in
lah,
KL. So we've
KL.
actually given the house to Temple of Fine Arts in Malacca for them to do the Indian classical dance. They do prayers in my house, which I think what my parents would love to. And we've given that to the Temple of Fine Arts in Malacca.
And school, Malacca, were you Malacca High School or? I mean, sorry, I didn't have that part of knowledge
No,
about
so
you.
I studied primary school in Sekolah Datuk Palembang in Malacca.
in Malacca.
Right? It used to be SRIBB, Sekolah Rendah Inggeris Bukit Baru. Bukit Baru is the place where we live. But then it then changed to Sekolah Kebangsaan Datuk Palembang. I did my secondary school in St. David's, right, up to Form 5. Because we didn't have Form 6, so it's a missionary school. And then in Form 6, we studied in Gajah Berang. So there were only two schools that did Form 6 in Malacca then. It was Malacca High or Gajah Berang. My batch, my previous two batches actually went and did high school. So my siblings, my sister, my brother did Form 6 in high school. But I did my Form 6 in Gajah Berang.
Gajah Berang, wow.
A fairly good school, but gangster school juga. And then did my Form 6, and then I landed where we first met, which is in University Malaya.
Wow.
Yes.
So, obviously you must have been among the top students lah.
Well,
okay, now you're shy.
Not really. I think I was a fairly good student. I wouldn't say the top of the class, right? But fairly good enough, and fortunately enough, managed to get into University Malaya.
Engineering faculty some more.
Say that again.
In engineering faculty lagi.
Engineering faculty
Electrical engineering lagi.
Yes,
That's why you lost your hair lah.
Actually, it's interesting, right? Because if you think about it in University Malaya, right? So you get into the electrical engineering. So you get into first year, which is common. So they only had 4 engineering discipline then.
Yep.
It was civil, electrical, mechanical, and chemical, right? So when we went in the first year, but you get then to select which one you want to, which of the discipline you want to get into. The top preferred at that time was 1983, if you recall. That's the year I got in. Civil engineering was the discipline that everybody wanted to get into, because then construction and everything else was booming, right? So then it depends on your STPM results. At that time, only the top of the top gets, if you select civil engineering and you get the best of the results, then you get into civil engineering.
Even in year 1?
From year 1, it's a common, but you get into year 2, but
right.
they decide your discipline even from year 1, right?
Okay.
I tried for civil engineering because that was where, you want to get out and hopefully at that time to get the job out when you graduate, right?
Yeah.
So, but I didn't qualify because I was at the top, because you had all the Chinese students, which is super good with 5 A's. I didn't get 5 A's, right? But I shouldn't tell you my results. But then my second choice was electrical engineering. And then the second choice, I got my second choice. I didn't get my first choice because all the top students got the first choice. But interesting enough, things changes, right? Because when we graduated in 87, Malaysia went through a recession. It was a global recession. The construction business came down, but the manufacturing and electronic industry was picking up. So it was very interesting. When my batch graduated, most of the electrical engineering students, in fact, most of them got jobs even before they graduated.
Wow.
Whereas the civil engineering guys didn't have a job because the market is so bad, right?
Yeah.
So it's just fortunate, Raman, to be by accident.
But life is like that, lah, man, kan?
Correct. I do agree. Yeah.
Just mentioning this name Raman, do you often get confused for being Raman as in Rahman, Malay?
It is, right? That's why I said,
I just thought of it,
I've been caught during bulan puasa for eating, and because Raman, right? And as I grew up,
you can pass up as a Malay, lah.
Yeah, so when I grew up in Malacca, I speak a lot of Malay, right? So both my parents are working parents. They are working. So we always had a kakak or tukang rumah, right? That helped us. She's a Malay. So when we grew up in Malacca, and if you know, and if you have friends from Malacca, memang bahasa or speaking Malay is a natural language, right?
Yeah.
So when I grew up, I can speak very fluent Malay. If people obviously see me, thinks I'm also Malay. But the way I speak Malay makes people even think more so that I'm a Malay, right? and you are right. So I'm a little bit fortunate. I'm a little bit fair skinned. My 2 siblings are probably your skin tone.
Oh, really?
So they get mistaken for Malay even more than me, right? But until today, I get more Hari Raya cards than Deepawali, right? People still, because of my name, thinks I'm a Malay, right? So I enjoy it lah. But yang susah bulan puasa lah. I have gone to mamak shops and eat, and the guy refused to sell me, right? And I said, hey, look at my IC, right? I'm Indian lah. I'm Indian. I'm Chindian. I'm Indian, bukan Melayu. And the guy said, oh, ini IC semua boleh tipu. Right? Nanti polis datang, I lose my license, you makan, saya tak dapat business lagi, right? So those were some instances that I find it difficult. During puasa lah. But over the time, now with the bald-headed, I get more mistaken for Mat Saleh or whatever it is.
Yeah, Mat Saleh. No, because so you are Microsoft MD, so you must be Mat Saleh also lah. I'm sure kalau local events pun, people think that maybe you're not even Malaysian also.
That's correct, Azwan. So I get sometimes, right? Just the fact that because I carry a Microsoft MD title, the first indication people will think is where you're from, right? And sometimes when I meet customers or I meet government officials, the first word, how long you been in Malaysia? I say, tak adalah. Ni memang anak Malaysia, 100% Malaysia.
Saya tak pernah keluar Malaysia.
Tak pernah study keluar Malaysia. Actually, no. Actually, you're right. I've not lived abroad too, even though I've taken regional jobs and different careers in Microsoft. I've always made Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur now my home because of the support system that I get, right, across the family, on my wife's side and my side.
And
that
again,
helps.
why not, kan? You know? Yeah. So, okay, I mean, it's interesting. Actually, to be honest with you, for as long as I've known you also, man, you've always been that guy who's just about with everyone and anyone lah. You know what I mean? So, kudos to you lah. You may not realize it, but in reflection, this is what really I know of you all these years lah. So, I know, leaving, graduating from university in those days, and of course this is years and years ago. I guess being an engineer, you can go into any field. That's one. I also noticed career-wise, you've always been with multinationals, kan?
Yes.
Was that by design or coincidence that you found your way into many multinationals?
Yeah. So, it's interesting you mentioned engineering, right? So you're right. My career could have taken so many different ways, different paths, man. So when I graduated back in '87, as I mentioned, a lot of my fellow batchmates has all been offered. Either you get to work in Intel at that time, you get work in Motorola, you get and a big batch gets work in National Semiconductor, right? I did my thesis under Professor Gout Jausman, who was the Dean of the Electrical Engineering, and he subsequently became the Vice Chancellor for University of Malaya. So I did my thesis under him.
Wow.
For whatever reason, he liked the work I did, and he says, look, there's a scholarship coming in from UNESCO to do a master's in electrical engineering, right? And then when I look at the scholarship and what my other friends are earning in Intel, it pays a little bit more. And even those days, to get 300 ringgit more, it's a lot of money, right? So I said, why not I study, right? I get money, I get my master's degree, rather than go and work.
UM?
In UM, under him, right?
Under him, right.
But of course, we graduated at that time was May, June timeframe, if you recall, right? So all my friends had started working. So he says, let's wait for the scholarship to come. So we waited lah. June came, scholarship approval hasn't come. July, August, September. Then he said, okay, Raman, we are still waiting, so why not you go out and get a job? When the scholarship comes, I'll give you the first right of refusal, right?
Okay.
So obviously then I went and called all my friends, hey, ada kerja kosong Intel, everything else. So happened I'm from Malacca, right? So there was also National Semiconductor was hiring a lot of fresh graduates at that time. So I applied, and of course Malacca, so I got and I started engineering work in National Semiconductor.
In Malacca?
In Malacca, right? So I went back, I started to work, and I think 5 months, 6 months later, the scholarship came finally, right? So I got a call from Prof and said, "Hey, finally the scholarship came. Let's do that, right?" So I said, "Okay." And I was fortunate. So I went back to the faculty. I walked and I saw a lecturer, right? Professor Subra, and Professor Avichandra, Professor Avichandra, and I bumped into him. And then he says, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Oh," I said, I've already got a scholarship and I want to plan to do a master's." And he said, "But what are you doing now, right?" And he says, "I'm already working in National Semiconductor." And he says, "And you want to do a master's?" He said, "Why do you want to do a master's, right? Because you already worked. In Malaysia, the master's qualification, and it takes you 2 years to do a master's degree, versus if you continue to work in National Semiconductor, and in 2 years' time, your market value would be a lot better, because Malaysia doesn't really pay and give recognition to master's qualification, right? There's very little difference between degree and master's. But you see, it depends on what path you want to take, right? Because then you can do master's in engineering, then you want to do PhD in engineering, and if you want to become a lecturer, that may be the path. But you said, "Raman, I've known you as a student. You're not the studious type. You hardly come to my lecture. You're always spontaneous in class, So I don't know whether this is the path that you want to take, right? So it kind of clicked and dawned on me, He says, I will advise you, if you really want to do your master's, go work for 3 and 4 years and do your MBA. An engineering degree and an MBA will make your market value a lot better, right? And I think that was probably the best advice someone has given me, right, in choosing my career path going forward, right? So I have to go and tell Prof. Gao, "Hey, Prof, thank you, but I think..."
But you had given up your job already?
Fortunately, I have not, because I've gone to first talk to him and do that, right? So that was fortunate. So I started working in National Semiconductor. And at that same time, the IT market was booming, right? And Hewlett-Packard, the company that, again, my senior in University Malaya, right? Dato' Jaswal Singh now. He was 1 year my senior and also my roommate in University Malaya. He was a mechanical engineer, and even when he graduated in '86, he couldn't find a job. So he ended up being a salesperson selling some of his network equipment, and subsequently he got hired into HP. And he's a good salesman. So because he was doing well, the sales country manager for HP says, "Hey, we are building a new team in HP. Why not you call some of your university friends that you think is good to fit in this job to come and join HP?"
Wow.
So I was in Malacca enjoying my life as a test engineer in National Semiconductor, beautiful place, Balik Kampung. I got a call from him. And he says, "Hey, look, HP is looking for salespeople, right? Would you want to come and join?" I said, "Hey, friend, I studied 4 years in engineering. And at that time, sales job is seen as a door-to-door salesman, right? That what comes to mind, you katok pintu, you go and sell things. It's never a good reputation, right? And having spent 4 years doing engineering, I said, "You're going to be crazy, right? Coming to do sales." He said, "Hey, trust me, right? He says, you come here in sales, and he says, I've been in HP for 6 months. Sales is king. You're the one who brings the revenue to the country.
You make money
your
through
technical people
commissions.
works for you. Yeah, and he says, if eventually you want to get back to your technical line, HP is such a big company. Once you come in, you can find your path, right? So again, that was good. It helped to do a door opener. So went to HP for an interview lah. And those days in HP, you go to the interview, like 6 people will interview you. From your sales manager, the technical guys, the HR guys will interview you.
And this is like entry level lah, kan?
This entry level coming in, like what they call it, a sales intern and a marketing intern at that time, right? So fortunately, that was where the opportunity for me to join an IT company. And I was more interested then to join Hewlett-Packard as a company because the management philosophy, the branding. It's always known if you this is 30 plus years right now, almost 40 years, right? That's how old we are. Is the branding and the reputation HP had at that time.
Even at that time, kan?
Even at that time, known for quality. So I said, okay, compared to National Semiconductor, with all due respect, HP had a stronger branding, right, in the market.
So, if my memory is correct, those days the main products were, of course, PCs, and I think notebooks were starting to be introduced, printers, and those were the key ones, I guess. Sorry if I don't remember correctly.
So you're right. HP is quite diversified, actually, right? So a lot of people know because those days they had the best laser printers and the best PCs, right?
Yes.
But they also have the enterprise part of the business, so they do sell some of the servers that serves the manufacturing, the banking sector, and the telecommunication sector, and also oil and gas at that time. And also they had test and measurement equipment, which eventually got spin off, right? So they're quite broad. It's an engineering company and the test and measurement company and a computer company at that time, right? So I joined, fortunately, because of my little experience in National Semiconductor with some manufacturing background. They were looking at someone to sell into the manufacturing sector. And I got interested and I was fortunate, went through the whole interview, but at the pressure lah, that time. I think if I had been pressured to get a job, I probably wouldn't have performed as well. But because I knew I have a job already, and this was okay lah. I tried because my friend asked me to come for the interview.
Yeah.
And I didn't have.
But it was hugely attractive lah, kan?
Hugely attractive from a company, from a branding. Right?
So in a way, there must have been many thoughts that go through your mind. Of course, masa tu you belum kahwin lagi lah. You're still bachelor.
Much, yeah.
So you were doing well in National Semiconductor.
Yeah.
You had an offer to join university, of course, with a renowned professor.
Yes.
And along comes this HP opportunity, kan?
Yes.
Wow, that would be actually a huge dilemma. Money aside, kan?
Yeah.
How do you actually make those sort of like decisions with strength of conviction? Okay, I'm going to make this decision, and I believe it's the right one, and I'm just going to go with it. How do you actually, in reflection, when you think about it?
Right. No, so again, fortunate to have some good coaches or some. So my dad's good friend, which is a neighbor in Malacca, he's a big time person. He was running. He was actually a factory manager for Ansell, which is the glove manufacturing in Malacca. So obviously, when I had this offer, I had a chance to ask Uncle, what do you think? Right? I had this offer, and he gave me very sound advice. Right? So obviously, if you look the two companies, HP and also National Semiconductor, HP has a much better brand reputation, has a global presence, right? And he says sales is actually not a bad job, right? He says if you look at it, and he says he's been a factory manager, you live your life in just one environment, which is factory and producing glove. There is no exposure to the outside world. But if you join the IT company, right, and he says the IT company serves every different businesses. Even then, Azman, so you think about it, today, technology impacting everybody's life, right? From a small consumer business to a mom and pop shop to even the largest, biggest enterprise. And you and me, as a individual and a consumer, we use technology every day. But this is an advice given to me like 37 years ago, 38 years ago, that technology actually has a big presence across every industry. Every company uses computer in some way. When computing was just starting to impact or help people to do, those days, they even call it data processing, right? Not even an IT company. But to tell me then you'll get better exposure across industry. You're not limited to just one field. You may want to go try it out. Anyway, you got an engineering degree, right? If it fails, you can go back and work in somewhere else. So it was a decision then. It was also good advice from my friend who's already in HP to tell me, hey, come join. You will enjoy this, right? Trust me, like you said, sales is king. When you see the money, you get excited, right?
Yeah, but it's actually, I'm also reflecting as I'm listening to you, because even today I get questions from the younger generation, especially those who graduate with an engineering degree, kan. Some rather maybe because of the way that they're taught engineering in school, they some rather figure that to become an engineer you need to be in a technical role, which is very applying what you learned. But would you agree with me when I say engineers actually are amongst the most versatile? You can actually throw them off the deep end in just about anywhere.
I think I would agree.
Well, both of us are engineering background,
right?
but
I think the engineering discipline helps you to think through problems and think through solving problems, right? And I think that's the discipline and the foundation that help us to think through how to solve a problem, right? And the basic steps of solving a problem. I think what makes engineers pretty versatile, right? Put them in different situations. They always think about the solution to the problem and how to solve that piece, right? And I think that's the basic foundation. I think I learned whatever 4 years in campus, even though Ponting classes, right? I think the foundation that I had in engineering, the discipline, right, of the thought process helps me in my career going forward, right? Yeah. But you're right, man. I mean, if you look at my career, I've been fortunate enough to work for 4 multinationals. So I've been a very much corporate man.
Yeah.
And I think, I guess that's where my comfort feel is, because that's how I grew in the organization in HP. Started as an intern, move up the chain from sales to sales management to country management. And I had fortunate enough to be moving into the ASEAN region to lead a telco industry vertical to sell to the telcos. And then fortunately then being given the task to run the entire Asia business for telco at a fairly young age, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously from HP and 15 years, right? So I must say a lot of my sales management, learning and how to work with people, because HP, if you look at Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, even those days they had a book called The HP Way. Right. And the book is still available, and I sometimes still refer to the book about the belief, right, that everybody wants to do a good job, right? Every employee that comes in, nobody wakes up and said, "Oh, today I don't feel good. I'm going to do a lousy job," right? Everyone has a person wakes up in the morning, wants to do a good job. And they were the managers or founders of the company. Our responsibility is to have the right tool, the right training for these people to excel in the job going forward. And I think that's one of the discipline that's always in me today as leaders. How do we ensure new people that comes in the organization,
they carry
new fresh graduates that come in, we set them for success. And we provide the right tools, the right training, the right capabilities, so that they succeed in their job going forward.
In fact, I will come back to how we see and nurture the next generation. But I also want to reflect on a period where HP was actually, excuse me for saying, there was an M&A with Compaq.
Yes.
It was a global M&A.
Yes.
You were still with HP at the time, right?
Yes.
So again, maybe members of our audience also are experiencing a change which is actually somewhat outside their control. What were immediate thoughts that were going through your mind, if you can recall that period?
Yeah. So interesting, right? It's probably one of the biggest mergers in the industry, right? 2 giants at that time, big names, HP and Compaq coming together, right? And as an organization, 2 very different culture, I would say, from HP and from Compaq coming in. Compaq was very much a product engineering company, very product-centric. HP, the enterprise part of the HP, right? The consumer part of HP, the printers, they were always good with the product. But the enterprise part of the business is always about finding the right solutions for the customer, right? Customers don't buy a server, right? Because Compaq then has some of the best, fastest servers in the market. Whereas HP and the business we are in when selling to the telcos, we look at solutions. We look at working with partners and bringing things. But 2 different cultures are coming together, man.
But you as a person, what were maybe first thoughts? Obviously, you were quite senior at that time, already, kan?
Yep. Yes.
So what were do you I mean, I don't think you were fearful of losing your job, but what were maybe the questions that were in your mind at that time?
Yeah. So obviously, right. So the good part is for me, right. It's how things come around, right. So the person who hired me in HP, he left HP and joined Compaq, right.
Before the M&A.
Before the M&A, right. And he was leading Compaq Asia at that time when the merger happened.
Oh.
And it's a merger of equals, right. So in every part of outside of Asia, the HP leaders got to lead the organization in Europe, in US, in EMEA, right, Africa and Middle East. In Asia, right, because every other jobs has appointed HP to show the connection. They appointed this guy called Paul Chan, who then became the Asia president for HP, the new HP, which is the HP Compaq, right? So I knew him, he knew me, so there were already a relationship going forward, right? But obviously, yes, the fear then is what is the new organization structure is going to be? How am I going to fit into this new organization? I've got a good track record in HP for 15 years. With at that time was 13 years when I was with HP before the merger happened. I stayed through for 2 years. I stayed through for 2 years. I was fortunate enough because of my experience and when they were looking at leaders, so they had country management team, which typically went to the Compaq leaders in country. And for the product group and the industry group, they got it mostly from the HP side of the house. Okay, so I got appointed to run the telco business for the new HP Compaq merger across Asia Pacific, minus Japan. Again, fortunate enough, because when I was in HP, I was leading the business. I was the overall marketing and operations manager for the telco business. My manager is a Japanese guy, right? When the merger happened, because of the entity is very big, Japan got split out as a region on its own. So they were looking for a new leader for Asia. And because we were more industry and Compaq was more product, I got appointed to run the business. Actually, I got appointed to run and select the leaders, right? And it was a very difficult choice because you got to go to every country now and pick the new telco leader for China, for Australia, for Southeast Asia, for India.
Without being seen to be biased towards HP colleagues, right?
Correct, exactly, right? It was a tough decision, but that's when you looked at really the capabilities of the people, forget about the relationship you have, look at the skills, look at the capabilities, and award the right job to the right people.
And then, of course, HP, you moved on to Oracle.
That's why I had EMC in between.
EMC, sorry, I forgot the EMC in between.
Yes.
So, okay, I mean, you've been blessed, Raman, with great opportunities that have come along. Kan? In reflection, what do you actually look for, apart from money, each time when you're making these big moves, kan?
So a different situation, man. So when I left HP, obviously with the Compaq merger and so on, it's also time for reflection, right?
Okay.
Is this what I want to do? And you probably know I got married late in life, and then the kid starts coming in, right? So I had my first kid, I had my second kid, my wife was expecting my third kid, right? And I was traveling a lot, right? I was traveling a lot, and it's actually, it's interesting. So every time when my kids, my eldest one was about 2 years old, when I'm traveling, I always call home. Those days, not a mobile phone.
Yes.
It's the wire line, right? It's telephone, right? And every time I call home, wife will say, "Daddy, daddy," right? So until one day, over the weekend, right, when I came back and I walked in through the door, I think after my golf game or whatever, and my wife said, "Daddy, daddy," and my eldest daughter actually showed the phone. Because she related that every time to talk to is the daddy is the phone.
Daddy is the phone.
And it actually hit me quite a bit, right?
My
And I said, my kids are growing up. I'm not spending time with them as much because I was covering Asia, and Asia is a big, and I'm almost 70-80% on the road, right?
And when you're home, you're playing golf some more.
Cuba lah, sikit-sikit, right? So, but that's when it dawned on me. I think, and I've probably achieved what I think I would have achieved in HP, and then when I spoke to my manager, they said, okay, to get on further, then best that you relocate in Singapore, because I was probably the only one that is part of the Asia Pac region that was still based in KL. Wow! And this is all about no difference, inner circle, how out of sight, out of mind. So then I said, okay, maybe I've done what I've done in HP, and then during the merger, they also had obviously a very good separation package at that time. So
okay.
I opted to take that out, right? So I actually opted without a job at that time, right? Because I
Really?
said, okay,
Wow.
15 years with HP, with my
Yeah.
experience, time that my kids are growing, my wife was expecting my third kid. Let me just take a break. And I think based on my success, a successful career in HP, I should be able to land a job. Telco market was booming like crazy at that time. I could continue to be in the
So
telco
was that
side.
break for a long while?
It's 6 months
Oh,
actually.
6 months,
It's
huh?
6 months because when I got offered, then I got headhunted very quickly. The minute you leave the job, you get headhunted, and
that-
your ex guest here or
yes.
your previous guest
Reza.
here,
Reza
Reza actually
Ghazali.
headhunted me and said, "Hey, EMC is looking for a country manager, right? And I think your profile would fit in very well." And I had offers. I had offered then to speak to EMC, and I knew EMC because when we were in HP, EMC is a partner. We resell EMC. They became our partner. Subsequently, they became our competitor because we also partner with Hitachi to sell the higher end storage, right? But long story short, so I had an offer from EMC. I actually had an offer even from Nokia at that time because of my telco
Nokia,
experience,
wow.
right? And that time
Haven't heard that name for a while.
but it wasn't the Nokia phone. Mobile
Okay.
phone was the Nokia switches, right, to sell to the telcos, right? So between the two, I opted for EMC. I thought I could contribute, and they then wanted someone because EMC is a very good company, product-wise. They had a unique proposition then that you could connect any different systems to a common storage, right? But they were not doing as well in Malaysia. And I thought this is an opportunity for me to come in because I've always had a good run in HP. Is it because of the company or is it because of me? Right, you always have that question,
Actually,
right?
that's
Because the company helps, and I think a lot of people underestimate the branding of the company, right? That helps you open doors.
Yeah.
And today in Microsoft, if I call somebody for a meeting, senang. If tomorrow there's somebody else,
Even cuba cerita pun panggil pun senang.
senang, yeah, betul. But the point is, yeah. So I then said, okay, I really have to now bring my skills and see how can I turn around this company who is doing well elsewhere but not in Malaysia by bringing in my skills, my capabilities, and turn around EMC Malaysia. Right, and I joined them. I still remember 2003, and I agreed to say, okay, the 6 months break because I told them I'll join only after my son is born, my third in
So
my
it was
family.
like a bit of a forced sabbatical juga lah.
Correct lah,
Oh, that's
correct.
nice.
In a way, so I had
That's
some
nice.
time, very short. 6 months flies by very quickly,
Kan?
right? Especially when my wife
But
is
6
expecting,
important months lah.
right? And I had 2 other kids, so 3
Yeah.
babies at that time. But then I joined EMC, which I had a successful 3.5 years building the business, getting back, winning the customers, having some big logos for them. And in fact, we got awarded the best subsidiary for highest growth across the 3 years, right? Through building the team, right? And bringing confidence to the team, really thinking how do you add value to your customers, how you bring some of the sales discipline that I learned a lot from HP into EMC, right?
Now, I want to ask another angle pula. It's interesting as I'm listening to you, and there's a lot to talk about the different aspects of your career. Another point that I also know is that, with all due respect, Oracle, Microsoft, they are big global names. And here you are, fair enough, the country MD of Malaysia in those positions, but of course you did have a bit of a regional role. Kan? How do you, as, putting it politely, the small kid on the block, kan? How do you actually think about positioning your portfolio amongst the big boys? I'm sure you've got this big international conventions where, all the big boys from the rest of the globe are gathered with you. And how do you, in reflection, how do you actually think about positioning yourself even amongst your peers? I mean, your regions and all that.
Yeah, it's a good question, right? If you look at the contribution of Malaysia,
Kan?
right, to the overall revenue of Microsoft,
Yeah,
or even Oracle, right? We probably are less than 1%, right,
Kan?
of the total revenue. So you think about Microsoft today, we are about $230 billion company, right? So even 1% is quite big, right? It's 2.3 billion. So we're not even there. But it's about what you do special and what you do different, right, in the country, and how we, as either it's Oracle or it's Microsoft today, and even more so in Microsoft today, makes a difference in the country. right? So how do you as a company partners with the government, partners with the large organizations and local companies to help a startup to do a different business? And in Malaysia, for example, with Petronas and the work we're doing are many first in the region, right? In leading Microsoft to do some of the work in the oil and gas industry, and partnering with some of the global partners in this new cloud world, husband, right? So if you think about it, every company is now moving to a cloud model because it gives you a lot more agility, a lot more flexibility, and brings in a lot more innovation because of the power of the cloud, right? So with that, how do you lead with some unique new projects
Propositions.
in Malaysia that can be a good reference case for the global world, right? So of course we learn first
Yeah.
about the global best practices, right?
Sure.
Because from a adoption, the US is always leading, or the Europeans are leading, but now we are finding there are new innovations that come from emerging markets, right? If you look at even the mobile world, right, we have probably bigger, higher penetration in the mobile world first than compared to the US and maybe to a certain extent to Europe, right? And then mobile applications becomes the front end to a lot of applications going forward. How do you build new and modern applications on a mobile phone that then can be exported in that sense to other companies? So you stand out by showing uniqueness,
Yeah.
by learning, but
Yeah.
showing certain different things you're
Yeah.
doing in the country
Yeah.
that can help others to learn and others to do too, right?
Okay. And again, so again, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. I guess many of our audiences may feel that they may be running businesses from a scale wise is not as large as the big boys, but it's how you actually position yourself, your uniqueness, and what is it that it's not a matter of how much dollars and cents per se, but what is it that actually makes you different from the rest. Lah.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to come now to this point about you are obviously, seeing technology grow, that, and technology is even more so relevant to our next gens today, kan? How do you, as a leader of a business today, view our next generations? And again, I'm putting it in reference to, the young professionals, how they value things, and then you're trying to, how do I say, motivate them, understand them, and give them also what they want, but at the same time make sure that they contribute just as much. Share some thoughts, if I may ask.
Interesting, right? Because the world has changed.
Yeah.
The world has completely changed from the
Yeah.
time you and me graduate, right? At that time, it's nice. I keep telling people, right? Those days after 5:30, when I go back home, nobody disturbs me. My boss can't call me. There's no way, right? Because
Correct.
you don't even carry a mobile phone, right?
Yeah.
And fast forward today, everyone is living in a connected world, right? And everyone can be reached at any time, right? But I think you're right. As leaders, right? As mine, and it comes back to what I said earlier, right? Is how do you as a leader also continue to evolve with the new trends that's coming in, because the new generations bring in a lot of ideas, but then their personal beliefs are also different, right? So if you look at it, some of them don't want to join the big organizations anymore. They want to join the startups, or they prefer to join organizations which is closer to their belief, right? Whether it's sustainability today, and in interviews they do ask questions. What is Microsoft doing in the area of sustainability? What is Microsoft doing in the areas of green, right, to make the world a better place? Do you have initiatives? Do you have programs in the organization to do that? So they are actually choosing the companies they want to work for. Maybe because they got rich
Even if
parents.
it, even if it, well,
Like
even
those
if it's
days,
Microsoft,
we want a job, right? Those days, we get up, we
Yeah.
graduate because we don't have a safety net. So any job comes in, we will pick and do that, right? So I think this is more maybe for the more urban, maybe the more
Yeah.
well-to-do, which is also the people that has greater exposure out there, and they want to join a company with more purpose, right? So fortunately enough, as Microsoft, we are committed to sustainability. We've made
Yeah.
commitments, by 2030, we'll be all green, the businesses we run. And in fact, by 2050, we're going to be able to absorb all the carbon that we have emitted since the formation of the company back in 1975.
Since the formation of the company. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
so there's a
huge
big commitment from Microsoft.
Wow.
And with that, we are also helping other organizations to achieve their sustainability goal, to achieve their ESG goal with the tools and the business processes we have. But you're right, the younger generation chooses different. And they are today coming in also expecting the company to have the latest technology. Because COVID has changed. And not only the younger generation, but the existing workforce is also looking at work very differently.
Okay.
Right? Pre-COVID and post-COVID, the working behavior has changed. People, obviously during COVID, has learned how to work remotely, right? And they now want to have the flexibility so that they can work anywhere, right? So how do you balance and give them the choice with the right tools so that they can work remotely, but to ensure everyone knows what the KPI is? Because at the end of the day, we are still an organization.
They have to be focused on what they still need to achieve.
And they must have that discipline, because anyone you know, right? If you work remotely, you never know when they're on the computer, what else is happening around them. You never know, right? Yeah.
One thing, so technology, how does, so I guess, all right, maybe to phrase the question, how does artificial intelligence come into play for, I guess you can't reveal company secrets, but how does artificial intelligence come into play in terms of what you guys do? I mean, technology and all that stuff, kan?
So, artificial intelligence has really gained a lot of traction. If you think about it, AI is not really very new, right? AI has been around for the longest time, but it's got traction over the last 5-6 years because people have moved from traditional servers, on-prem computing to cloud computing, right? And making now technology more accessible to anyone, right? Large or big organizations, because you now don't have to buy the computers anymore. So you think about it, even 30 years ago, 20 years ago, unless you have the big IBM mainframe, you can do a lot of big AI capabilities. Today, you don't need to be a big organization because, compute power is also on a utility model. You pay as you go to do that. But what has gained interest, Azman, over the last 18 months, if you think about it, is this whole Chat GPT stuff.
Really?
I'm sure everybody is using Chat GPT, right? And Chat GPT is what we call the generative AI, the Gen AI, right? And generative AI means it's easier to use technology today. Because a lot of people, like you said, right, unless you are from the technical field, feels a phobia to even touch a computer or do stuff, right? Especially the older generation.
Yes.
But with ChatGPT now, what it has brought in is to make technology easier for people. One is, when you talk about AI, it's a lot about data, because AI is a lot about learning data, right? So you have lots of data, and those days, you know how to pull all this information, companies' information, which is what we call in the structured format, and what you get in the internet, which is the unstructured format, right? But how do you pull all this information together, and then how can you query that information? And this generative AI or Gen AI has made it simple. Now you can easily pull all this information to all these large language models, and you can ask them in a normal, natural language, like having a conversation in the computers. Like you can go to ChatGPT today and says, help me plan my holidays, 7 days holidays
somewhere
in Portugal, which is what I did, right? As how I use generative AI.
You did use? Okay.
I use that quite a bit.
Doesn't that take away the thrill of exploring?
It does, but it also helps you to organize things better, right?
Maximize
the time, so you have a choice, right?
Yeah,
and today I think the choice is, typically if you want to do a 7 days holidays today, in the old world, you go to search Google or Bing, you say 7 days holidays, they will tell you this, that, right? But now you can ask, plan me a 7 days holiday. I like, whether you like sports or you like arts or you like museum, you said, okay, include some museum, include some beach holidays or whatever, right? So the thing is with AI, it's going to transform everything the way we do, right? And the way generative AI has got the adoption rate is just crazy, right? If you look at technology over the last 20 years, right? What came first is the mobile phones. It took mobile phones 16 years to hit 100 million subscribers, okay? And then the next big thing came is the internet. And it took internet 7 years, about 7-8 years to hit 100 million. And then all the social media stuff, right? Facebook took 4 years to get to 100 million. Let me ask you, ChatGPT, how fast did it take to hit 100 million?
I think within days.
No, not quite.
Okay.
But it took them 3 months. In 3 months, ChatGPT hit 100 million. And that's how so ChatGPT
You're talking about consumers.
Consumer using it, asking questions, and people who experience to ask a question on ChatGPT. So what Microsoft have done is we've got a good partnership with OpenAI,
Okay.
the company that did Chat GPT. So if you think about Chat GPT, so Chat GPT helps consumer to find information on the internet, right?
Yeah.
But think about it, right? So if you bring that technology into your organization
Uh-huh.
and put it in a very secured manner that only your employees can have access to your company's information.
Yeah.
Now your company can query anything about the company policy, the leave policy, the
Yeah.
documents, right? Whether you're in the banking side or whether you're in telco, said a call center agent in a banking customer today can ask what is the best credit card offer that I can offer to Azman because he's a golfer. He wants a credit card that can give him access to golfing facilities. He likes to travel, so give you points for airlines. And banks has a lot of
Whatever.
credit cards, right?
Okay.
So which is the right credit card for you? Right? Instead of the sales agent trying to find all this, they can use AI
Greater
and
success
generative
rate
AI.
also.
Yes, to help customize a solution or an offering for a customer.
So how can Cuba Cerita also
Yes.
reach 100 million subscribers? Cik?
Precisely. Boleh you
First thing, find a new host. Upgrade the quality of your guests. Sorry nak kacau you. Okay bro. Wah, this episode banyak brain
Brain is-
brain deepening lah. not like Rodney's one. Lah. It's like a lepak.
but you can tell him there's another botak on the show lah. Maybe a better looking one.
Someone commented, how come all your guests banyak yang botak? I'm cari orang pandai lah. Okay, bro. It's been a great, great session. We don't end it here.
Yes.
We want to kacau you.
Oh, okay.
Cannot get away lah. Easy, all this Chat GPT on. No, we want to ask real questions, and it's not from Chat GPT. So all you need to do, I'll read out statements.
Yeah,
You just flip the card, true or false.
I see. Okay.
True or
Boy, this was so
false.
like true or false. Okay.
Actually, I already asked the question. I mean, with the Malay sounding name, you've often been mistaken as a Malay. Oh, tak puasa. That one true lah. Okay, that one easy one. Okay. When filling in a borang in answering the question of race, you tick line. False. Oh, okay. So tell us now. Which one do you think? Malay,
I think
Indian?
Indian.
Oh, you do Indian
Yeah,
because of your?
Because when you register as those days, you follow the father. You follow the father
okay.
religion or the father's
Okay.
race, right?
All right.
So in my birth cert and in my IC, it's Indian,
Okay.
right? So we put,
Okay. You're such.
If I put line, my quota better,
Actually, So you put all of the above. Malay boleh, Chinese India, semua boleh. Okay. I know you're an avid fan of Liverpool, and I heard that you are such an avid fan that you've even got your name somewhere stuck on the wall in Anfield. True or false? Oh my goodness. quick, tell us a story.
Yeah, fortunate enough, the Anfield Road stand, they extended, right? The last 2 years, and now it's open. So when they launched that, they actually encourage Liverpool supporters to buy a tile as part of contribution, and of course, cari duit lah.
They
right?
conned you lah.
So my kids actually bought it for me, not me, as my 60th birthday last
With your
year.
money lah.
Okay. But they got me a tile. So you can now go to Anfield Road stand and see a tile with my name, K. Raman.
Really?
Malaysia, from the Chin
Somewhere
Lions.
up in the corner, somewhere lah.
I hope no. They said right.
But if you got a photo of it,
I have got a photo of it,
will
of
please
course.
share it with us.
100% I'll do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Next statement. You sometimes wished you were a supporter of Manchester United. Never ever.
Only when they play Man City this weekend.
Okay. I understand you were a hockey player. So you've actually played hockey better than you play golf today. True or false?
I hope to improve my golf, but for now I'll say my hockey is better.
Okay, it was better. Ayo, cukup lah Raman. But bro, I mean, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure. And again, I know you've been so busy. It took us quite a while to finally get you here, and with all your PR team also vetting all the questions that we're going to ask. Hopefully it passes the test. But thank you so much, bro, for joining us. God continues to bless you with good health and peace of mind and cheerfulness. And irrespective of whatever age is just a number, please continue to be who you are and continue to play the role of a Malaysian who is so successful and continuing to do what you do because you're doing so well. And thank you so much for supporting us at Cuba Cerita also lah. Yeah.
Thanks, Azman. Been a
Okay,
pleasure.
my
Yep,
pleasure.
thank
And
you.
maybe who knows, there'll be another opportunity in future to call you in again for something else that will be more topical, kan?
Boleh, no
All
problem.
right,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks,
Okay, bro.
Azman.
All right. So, thank you so much again for joining us. I hope, through this type of sessions, you can see how each individual finds purpose in what they do. It gives you something to think about for yourselves and resonates with you. You may be any part of your career. It hopefully, is something that you can learn from. So we wish you all the best too. Thank you for supporting us in Cuba Cerita. Continue to subscribe and encourage your friends also to follow us, and hopefully we can get even better with your comments. So till we see you again, Assalamualaikum. Have a good rest of this week, and we wish you all the best. Take care.